Resourceful Designer, episode 189, 4 Vital Questions to Ask Design Clients.
Welcome to the Resourceful Designer podcast, offering solutions to streamline your graphic and web design business so you can get back to designing. And now, your host. He's never been outside of North America, but hopes to one day, Mark Descout.
Welcome to the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. In this week's episode, I'm going to share 4 vital questions you need to be asking your clients during every project briefing. I'm also going to share a resource that can offer you a way to keep one aspect of your business and personal life separate, even though you're working from home. And finally, I'll finish with a question from Jade about designing the same thing for 2 different companies. And you'll really need to listen to the question to get that one. Now, what have I been up to? Well, I finished one of the team logos that I mentioned to you last time. That one was a little bit simpler. It was just a warm-up jersey, so it wasn't an official team logo. It was just something they wanted, a little whimsical thing they wanted for their warm-up jerseys for a volleyball team. And I have started the other one, which will be an official team logo. So that one is a little bit more involved as we go in and do some exploring. So that one will be fun. I did run into some problems this week migrating a client's website. They were on a web host that I'm not going to name them, but man, I did not like the way things were run there. They gave me access and I was having all sorts of trouble downloading the database. And anyways, I'm still in the middle of trying to switch them over to SiteGround where they also had an account. So it's a lot of problems, but I'm actually learning a lot in the process. So I'm enjoying that part of it because it's something I've never encountered before, so it's always fun to tackle a problem that's new to you. But I'd also like to just get it over with and tell the client that it's all ready to go, and then we can move on to the next stage, which is redesigning one of their other sites. And finally, I did a logo for a podcaster that I know, and I tell you, I love Logo Package Express. I know I've talked about it on the podcast before, but I created this logo for this person, and there's a couple of different variations of the logo. I did a horizontal and a vertical one with a tagline and without a tagline. And I used Logo Package Express to package up the whole thing in order to send to my client. There was 125 different variations of the logo. That's in RGB for different uses for screen, CMYK. So there were some Pantone ones, some black and white ones. 125 variations of the logo. Oh, it probably took me about 6-7 minutes to do all of that after the logo was complete. And that's just because I messed something up and I had to go back. I realized after I'd done it all that I had made a mistake on the logo. I'd forgot to outline something something had an outline line in Illustrator and I wanted to expand the outline so that it wasn't a stroke anymore. I wanted to turn it into a filled area. So I had to go back and restart. So it probably took me about between 6 to 8 minutes to get 125 logos ready and then zip them up and send them off to my client. So Logo Package Express saved me a ton of time there. It was a fun project to work on, the logo and all that. But that gathering up the logos afterwards, which was always tedious, now it's so easy with Logo Package Express. Now, if you're not sure what I'm talking about, I actually recorded a demo a while back. If you go to resourcefuldesigner.com/the-logo-package-demo, all one word, so /the-logo-package-demo, you can actually see a video, a screen recording that I did of testing out the program when it first came out. And Michael, who created this thing, what a time saver this program has been. I think anybody who designs logos in Adobe Illustrator should have this extension. Now, it is a Adobe Creative Cloud only, and I think it's only the latest version. So 2018, 2019, if you're on that version of Creative Cloud, which you're on Creative Cloud, you should be on the most recent version anyways, but it only works with that. But if you do logos and you don't like the process at the end of packaging up, making the JPEGs, the PNGs, the AIs, the PDFs, and all that stuff, get this. It takes just literally minutes, and it does the whole thing for you. So those are just a few of the things I've been up to. Now, before I get to today's resource of the week, I want to remind you about the Resourceful Designer community. That is my paid membership community of designers who are running, growing, starting their design business. It is a very tight-knit group. We've really got to know each other. We're helping each other out. We're mentors. If you need a design mentor, this is the perfect opportunity because you don't only get one, you get a whole team of designers at various stages that can help you out. And right now in the community, we have some very experienced designers, as well as some new ones just starting out that are bringing some fresh perspectives to things. Now, I would love to have you try out the community. If you're interested, visit resourcefuldesigner.com/community and sign up. Now, as I mentioned in the intro, this week's resource of the week is something that can help you out if you are working from home, and that's with your phone. I only recently discovered something called dual SIM phones. And this is cellular phones because I started looking in things. I've got an old iPhone 6S still. And I figured it's time. Right now, I'm always running out of room, especially with all the podcasts I listen to. Constantly running out of storage space on my phone. I said, it's time to upgrade. Other than that, there's nothing wrong with the phone, but still, it's time to upgrade. So I started looking into the newer iPhones because I haven't really kept track of them. And I discovered that starting with the iPhone XS and XR, and of course the newer iPhone 11s, they offer dual SIMs. Now, the iPhone does it through a one SIM and an eSIM, but I also looked into some other Android phones, and in case you're interested, the Huawei P30 Pro, the OnePlus 7 Pro, as well as the Samsung Galaxy Note 10s and the S10 series from Samsung are all dual SIM phones. Now, what a dual SIM phone means is you can actually have two different phone numbers coming to your phone. And why this is interesting, or why I'm excited about this, is right now I have a landline at home that we're paying for that basically, now that we all have cell phones, nobody calls us on our regular line. But I also have my business line through there as well. It's a separate phone number. I'm not going to get into that, how that works. But now I will be able to, once I upgrade my phone, I will be able to transfer my business line over to my cell phone. So I would have my regular cell phone number that everybody knows, and I would also have my business line on my phone. And then I can get rid of our landline because, as I said, our home phone, nobody other than telemarketers ever uses that anymore. All family and friends and everybody calls us on our cell phones. Now, I know people that have two cell phones, one for their personal, one for their business, but it wasn't until I started looking into this recently. And you may be thinking, Mark, I've known about this for a while, but this is something new to me, and I thought I'd share it just in case you weren't aware. That now there are cell phones that will allow you to have two different phone numbers. Now, you do have to have two different phone plans. I know in my, let me just specify too, please check with your cell carrier to make sure they allow it as well. But I know my carrier, what we can do is get a regular phone plan on one of the lines, and then say on my business line, I can get just a regular old phone and text plan. So no data, no anything special. It's just phone and text. So it's a really cheap plan. And it's actually cheaper to do it that way than to keep my landline. Now with the iPhones, they do it with what they call eSIM. So you actually only have one SIM card in the phone, but then you can do an electronic SIM through it so that the second phone number comes through. I don't know the technology behind it, but they don't need two physical SIM cards, where some of the Android phones actually has two different slots to put two different SIM cards in. So if you've been trying to figure out how to separate your home and your business, this may be the perfect opportunity for you. If you have one of these newer phones that allows dual SIMs, you can have two different phone numbers. And I believe you can actually program two different rings, so you'll know if it's coming in as a business call or as a personal call. And after hours, you can silence the business call and only answer personal calls. So this is something that I'm excited about. I'm going to hold off till Black Friday and see if I can get a special deal on a new iPhone. But I thought I'd share it on the podcast in case it's something that you may be interested in looking into. So that's this week's resource of the week, dual SIM phones. And now, 4 vital questions to ask design clients. Now, you've heard me say it many times before, and you've heard it from other voices in the design space, the designosphere, if you will. And that is that your job as a designer is to solve problems. When you can fully embrace that notion, and you stop thinking that your job is simply to create design for your clients, and instead start thinking that your job is to provide solutions to whatever dilemma your client is facing, there are a few things that happen. When you finally embrace that notion, you'll start to understand your clients' needs better, your clients will show more respect for what you do, and you'll be able to charge more money for your services. After all, a solution to a problem is much more valuable than a pretty picture is. And it doesn't matter how well designed that pretty picture is. There's only so much you can charge for that. But if you have a solution to a problem, then you can charge much more. The trick is figuring out exactly what the problem is your client is facing. And the only way you can do that is to ask questions. Lots of questions. Now, back in episode 15 of the podcast, I covered 50 questions that you can ask before every design project. That's the most viewed page on the Resourceful Designer website. If I look through my Google Analytics, every month, that's the top landed on page. And that just tells me that a lot of designers know that they have to ask questions, but they don't necessarily know what questions to ask. Now, if you haven't listened to that episode, or if it's been a while since you listened to it, and it was published almost 4 years ago after all, so I can forgive you for that one, I highly suggest you go back and give it a listen, or at least review the 50 questions on the website. And you can get to that at resourcefuldesigner.com/episode 15. Now, in that episode, I covered a wide variety of topics to ask questions about, including questions about the company hiring you, questions about their target market, questions about their current brand, questions about their design preferences, as well as questions about the project itself, its scale, its time frame, its budget. But what I didn't get into in that episode are the 4 most valuable questions that you can ask your clients. Questions that will get you to the root of what exactly is the problem that the client is coming to you with. Questions that can either change or narrow down the focus of a project. Questions that may allow you to charge higher rates because, as I said earlier, solutions to a problem are much more valuable than pretty designs. So I've teased you enough. Here are the 4 most valuable questions you can ask your clients. Question number 1, why do you need this? The power in this question is that it's so unexpected. When was the last time that you went out to buy something and the person you're buying it from asked you, why do you want to buy this? I can't remember either. That's why this question is so powerful. It gets the client thinking, and it gets them to open up to you. It doesn't matter if they're coming to you for, a logo, so let's say a website or a poster or a trade show display or a car wrap or whatever. And it doesn't matter if the reason why they need the item seems obvious to you. Ask your client why they need this. And then listen closely to what they say. This is where some of the real gems come from. The deep insights that could completely change your way of thinking about a project. Or it can help you narrow down the focus to one small area. So that's question number 1. Why do you need this? Now, question number 2 is, what results do you expect from this? Or if you want to reword it, you can say, what do you expect to achieve with this? The results that a client is expecting can often change the direction of a project. As a designer, you may see a better option to reach those results than what the client is asking for. Let me give you an example. A few years ago, I was asked to design a poster for a local charity. They wanted to raise money by collecting unused electronic equipment and recycling it for, I think it was for the precious metals that are in it, because there's a lot of gold and copper and stuff inside old electronics. Now, this was an event that they had done for, I think they had said the previous 2 years, and this was going to be the 3rd year they were going to do this campaign. Now, the whole idea is that people could put out their old computers, their old VCRs, calculators, stereos, whatever electronic device they had that they weren't using anymore. They could put it at the end of their driveway on a particular day, and then somebody would come by in a truck and collect them all. Now, this client had everything all planned out. All they needed were the posters to advertise the event. So it sounded easy enough. I design a poster for them, they pay me for my services. But I asked them the question, what results do you expect from this poster? And they replied that they wanted the poster in order to bring awareness to their campaign, to give people enough time to look through their junk for old electronics, and to let people know what day they needed to put them out at the road. The way they saw it is people would see the posters at the grocery stores, the corner stores, the gas stations, the schools, or wherever they put the posters up. They would take note of the event and the day. So knowing the results that the client was expecting, I then made a suggestion. I said, instead of posters, why don't we do postcards instead? See, the cost of 5,000 postcards was almost the same as for 200 posters, which is what they were looking for. Now, they had already told me that they had a really good pool size of volunteers, people that can help them out. So I suggested, well, instead of incurring extra costs with mailing, why don't you get your volunteers to go out and deliver a postcard to each house in your target zone, maybe 4 or 5 days before their pickup day. This way, they would ensure that every single household along their route knew about the event. Whereas if you put a poster up, it was really hit or miss whether the right people would see it or take note of it or remember it. People are much more inclined to remember a postcard, especially something that's left at their door in their mailbox. They pick it up, they'll look at it. They may throw it out right away, but they'll take note of it, where the poster, they may walk by it a bunch of times and never see it. Now, the client agreed to try this, and they ended up collecting more electronics that one day than they had the previous 2 years combined. And all of that because I asked them, what results do you expect from this poster? Instead of just designing a poster for them because that's what they were asking for. So that's the power of that question. When you know what results they want, maybe you can offer suggestions for something more appropriate. Now, question number 3 is, how will you judge the success of this project? This is another great question that can completely change the direction of a project. If you're building a website for someone, you may make completely different design choices depending on how the client will judge the site successful. If the client is looking for increased traffic on the website, you may design it one way. But if success is measured by the number of sales they get, then you may design it a different way. And if the website is simply to elevate their brand image, then you may design it a third way. Now, sure, you may mix and match those, but how a client judges a design project to be successful can have a huge influence on how you tackle the project yourself. For example, take a poster for a local school's theater production. I don't know, maybe they're putting on a production of, let's say, Grease. Well, will success be measured by the number of tickets they sell or by the awareness the production will bring to the school? In one case, you'll design a poster with emphasis on the production itself, Grease, and how and where to purchase tickets, with maybe a little bit of focus, like a small mention of the school involved. On the other hand, if success means more exposure for the school, then you may design a poster with more emphasis on the production, the school putting it on, and maybe put the ticket information as a small little piece in the corner that people have to go up and walk right up to the poster to find out. That's the power of asking, how will you judge the success of this project? It's important because it can completely change what you design. And that brings us to the most important question of all. Now, so far, the 3 questions I've shared with you are all kind of focused on something. Why do you need this? What results can you expect from this? And how will you judge the success of this project? But this last question, which is the most important question of all, is more open. In fact, it's a question that can be combined with any of these 3 questions, or it can be combined with any other questions, including the 50 questions that I shared in episode 15. And this most important question is, and what else? That's it. And what else? Now, you may want to reword it in something like tell me more or whatever, but really, you are trying to get more information out of your question. And the power of this simple question is endless. Let's combine it with the first 3 questions. And why do you need this? Okay, great. Yeah. And what else? What results do you expect from this? And what else? How will you judge the success of this project? Perfect. Oh, that's great. Yeah. Oh, yeah, I understand. And what else? You can include this amazing question in any conversation you have with a client. Tell me about your target market. And what else? What marketing approach have you guys tried in the past? And what else? Do you see its power? By asking, and what else? You are, one, showing your interest in your client, which helps build the relationship with them. Two, getting them to open up to you, making them feel more comfortable talking to you. And three, it's giving you information the client wouldn't have offered freely. And that's valuable information. Information that you can use to shape the perfect solution to your client's problem. After all, has there ever been a problem that you've faced that you didn't wish that you had more information about? No. And that's why this is such a great question. Use it liberally, and you will find that not only will your clients appreciate you more, but you'll be able to create much better designs for them because of all the added information you've gathered. And the great thing about it is you can use it over and over again. Oh, and what else? Oh, yeah, great. Oh, that's good information. And what else? Keep using it until the client has nothing else to tell you, and they will appreciate all the focus and attention you are giving them. So there you have it. Those are, in my opinion, the 4 most vital questions you can ask any design clients. And these questions I have used over and over throughout the years to get bigger projects, to change the scope of a project, to really build the relationship with a client, because they feel that you're not just there to do whatever they ask, but you are actually showing an interest in them. You want results for them. You want them to succeed. So the next time you meet with a client, remember these questions. Question number 1, why do you need this? Question number 2, what results do you expect from this? Question number 3, how will you judge the success of this project? And question number 4, the most important one, and what else? Those 4 questions can completely change the way you run your design business. Now, I would love to know if you already use these questions and how have they worked for you. Please leave me a comment by visiting resourcefuldesigner.com/episode 189. And now, this week's question of the week. Now, I pulled this question from the Resourceful Designer Facebook group, which, if you're not a member, you can join by visiting resourcefuldesigner.com/group. Now, you will have to answer the 3 questions, or if you don't, I will not let you in, but once you answer the questions, you're in the group. Now, this question came in from Jade. It says, I have a huge predicament. I'm in the midst of drafting a rebrand. I'm doing drafts for 2 different reps. I have 2 different contracts with them, but they're each repping the same company. And they each know that the other one has also contracted me for the design idea. Essentially, each of these reps will be presenting my designs to a board for this client to make a decision. Now, the board themselves have been involved with one of the reps, contacting me directly to further refine my ideas. My question is, should I just can both of the original contracts and redo one with the company itself? That way, everyone's ideas goes through the same avenue? Or continue the way it is and feel bad because I'm charging everyone for the same rebrand? Thank you for posting that in the Facebook group, Jade, and I thought that was interesting enough to pull onto the podcast. What a predicament to be in. To be hired by 2 different representatives to design something, knowing that both of them will be presenting them to the same end client. Now, you do have a valid question, but this is the way I see it. You're questioning whether you should just cancel both of those contracts and go directly to the end client. My answer would be no. You were hired by 2 different agencies or 2 different representatives, and it's not your fault that they're getting you to do stuff for the same client. It puts you in a really strange position. But if you were to cancel those contracts and go after the final client, like the end client, you could be hurting yourself in the long run because you don't know these 2 people, first of all, what sort of relationship they already have with the client, which could bounce back on you, or you don't know what other clients they may have that they may want to come to you for your services. And if you got rid of them, then chances of them coming back and asking you for more work would be very slim. Not only that, but they may start talking about what you did, which can really, really hurt your reputation. Now, you said that both representatives know that you're working for the other one, I would just keep doing it. One of the two is going to end up winning. You'll get the job. You'll end up working for the final client anyways. And then you'll continue working with that one rep. And the other one will go on their way knowing that they've lost fair and square. Now, yeah, it is very strange because they may think, well, you designed a better thing for the other one than for me, but that's a completely different argument. But in my opinion, no, you should definitely not let them go and go work for the end client. Now, it may turn out in the end that you will work directly with the end client anyways. That's happened to me before where I've had somebody come in and act as a middleman, and then through the process, in the long run, I ended up just working directly with the client and that middle person was no longer involved. But that was after the initial project. That company then decided to contact me directly. Now, if the company does at some point contact you directly, there's nothing stopping you from deciding to work directly with them. But until that happens, you got to remember that the two reps, those are each your clients. And you don't want to fire them to go after the big fish at the end. It can just come back and hurt you in the long run. So I hope that helps you, Jade. It's a very unique situation to be in. Hope it all works out. Please keep us updated in the Facebook group. Now, if you would like to have your question answered on a future episode of the podcast, you can submit it by visiting resourcefuldesigner.com/feedback, filling out the form there, and submitting your question. So thank you very much. That's it for this week. Please check out the Resourceful Designer community. If you're looking for some mentors or some people to help you out, some sounding boards, some other designers to critique your work, or just another designer that understands what you're going through to talk some things through with, then the Resourceful Designer community is for you. You can check it out at resourcefuldesigner.com/community. So that's it for this week. I appreciate you sticking around till the end. Until next time, I am Mark DeCote, wishing you all the best with your design business and reminding you to stay creative.
Thanks for listening to the Resourceful Designer podcast at resourcefuldesigner.com.